All right, so today we're talking about the Boston Celtics, and we're going to talk a little bit about kind of what's been going on with them. Again, just to start off, I want to mention to subscribe to the channel, like the video, comment, tell me where I'm wrong. Right now I'm going to talk a lot about the Celtics. Obviously, there was the Tristan Thompson trade that I did and kind of discussed at length yesterday about. That deal has been expanded, and we'll kind of jump into that as well. So again, like the video, comment, subscribe, and join the channel because we're talking all off-season stuff about the NBA, and we will be having fun here. So let's start off with the Thompson trade that expanded. So as you can see on the screen here, the initial trade with Boston was sending Tristan Thompson to Atlanta and getting in return Bruno Fernando and Chris Dunn. That trade has expanded a little bit. We know that DeLon Wright and the Sacramento Kings have entered the deal. So Thompson's going to Sacramento and DeLon Wright's going to Atlanta. And I'll kind of detail that out. And then also we've heard news today that Josh Richardson has been traded to the Celtics for Moses Brown. Now, the cap kind of situation was confusing to me, so I kind of just want to draw it out here. Again, I use notradeclause.com and their trade machine because it's a little bit more, it's not super user friendly like other trade machines are. But if you kind of know a little bit and kind of navigate through your way, you can kind of get the gist of it. They might have updated it. There's DeLon Wright. So Sacramento sending out DeLon Wright. Atlanta would be giving up Chris Dunn and Bruno Fernando. Celtics also are giving up Moses Brown to Dallas, and Dallas is giving up Josh Richardson. I believe that's it. So let's just kind of quickly do this. Let me move myself to a better position here. Let me just move myself right here or something. So Boston nets from the deal. They net Bruno, Chris Dunn, and they net Josh Richardson, and then they send out Tristan Thompson, who then goes to Sacramento, and then they also ship out Moses Brown, who goes to Dallas, and then Atlanta ends up with DeLon Wright, and the Sacramento Kings end up with, that is it. So you can notice here that the trade works for everybody except, there's a couple things here. Sacramento does need to, they've exceeded their roster spots. They have 16 guys under contract technically after this trade. So that is one thing where they'll probably just let a guy go. I don't know the Kings contracts on the top of my head, but ultimately I do think that it's going to be somebody like, I actually don't know. Let's pull up the Kings cap sheet real quick, so I don't look like an idiot. Obviously, Richaun Holmes is there, and there has been some talk that there's worry about them losing Richaun Holmes, and that's kind of a reason why they made a move to get Neemias Queta in the draft. Let's see here. Whiteside is probably gone. Mo Harkless likely gone. Do they bring back Kyle Guy or Lewis King? So again, some guys that they'll knock off for Sacramento. It also do want to mention that it puts the Celtics over the apron by $2 million. Now again, this is something that's interesting because when we heard that they were making a move for Josh Richardson, it was a little interesting to me because I kind of thought that Fournier was going to be the guy that they're going to try to re-sign after they made that trade to Orlando, or with Orlando. But recent reports suggest otherwise here. Mark Murphy of the Boston Herald reports that it says the Evan Fournier's market seems to be in the range of 12 to 20 million per year. This is actually Jared Weiss, but then Mark Murphy jumps in as well, who points out that that dealing for Richardson affords the Celtics the option of walking away if the bidding war gets too rich for Fournier. It sounds like that's a very realistic possibility, Mark Murphy reports. And here's a source from Boston that Boston is unwilling to meet Fournier's asking price of $80 million over 4 years. So $80 million over 4 years, that's about $20 million, right? A year. So again, Murphy's report says it's, quote, not looking so good. Meanwhile, the Celtics will hang on to Dunn. However, according to Weiss, who says the former lottery pick could be flipped again. Weiss suggests that two viable options for dealing Dunn could be to the Cavaliers, along with the Celtics young player, in a deal for like Larry Nance, or to the Pelicans with Marcus Smart in a Lonzo Ball sign and trade. The Lonzo Ball market for Boston has jumped up a little bit. King Queese, a regular guy here on our channel, he says Celtics making some questionable moves. They need a big man. I agree. I mean, obviously they did make the Al Horford trade, but let's actually quickly look at their roster as currently constructed. Let's see here. So yeah, Horford, obviously Thompson's gone. They bring in Bruno Fernando, who I think is kind of more of like a 4, but I guess he could play the 5. And they do have Robert Williams there, but there are some Celtics fans that I know like believe that maybe Robert Williams could be moved into the right move, in the right kind of a trade scenario. But Boston ultimately is a little bit short on centers. There's Taco Fall, but I don't know if Taco Fall is ready for like super big minutes in the NBA. So yeah, I agree. King Queese mentions again, Celtics need a big man. I think that's true. They obviously didn't really have much draft capital to work with in this most recent draft. So you got to imagine that, do they try to navigate a way to get, a center there in Boston? Because yeah, right now it looks like their lineup would probably be, assuming that they don't bring Fournier back, is Horford, Brown, Tatum, Marcus Smart. And again, a lot of people say that Smart's going to play the point guard. I guess you could say that, but then who are you throwing in? Is Langford getting more minutes? Nesmith? Obviously Richardson, I guess. Is he starting though? So a lot of interesting things Boston's doing. They're definitely being active after not really having too much of a presence in the draft, but they're making moves, and it's just going to be interesting because you hear that Lonzo Ball market kind of jump up a little bit. You hear that the Celtics want to get maybe a point guard of the future, but again, like King Queese mentions, the center is something that I think could probably be a need for the Celtics. Or are they okay just rolling out Horford out there and just playing him high minutes, and maybe having Taco Fall be his backup, or going small ball with their second unit? So a lot of interesting questions. Ultimately, there does seem to be, this Richardson move does look to me like it's the Celtics saying, we don't know if Fournier is going to be back with the team, and we're just going to try to maximize what we can, as we embrace that we might be losing him. Other than that, there are some other interesting reports here, kind of surrounding the Celtics. I just want to kind of go over this. If you're a Celtics fan, I don't think this is too much of a surprise for you, but it does mention that Tristan Thompson was beloved by teammates, but he butted heads with the Celtics coaching staff and the organization throughout the year, and was widely expected to be moved this offseason. Let's see here. If Jabari Parker is waived, they can project to be about a little under $4.5 million under the tax line. Let's see here. Celtics wanted to send more guaranteed money to the Mavericks with Josh Richardson, in the Josh Richardson trade, but Dallas initially didn't want to take any money back. Moses Brown was the compromise found, given the low guarantee of his deal, which is $500,000. Chris Mannix, who covers the Celtics a lot, says that the front office, especially Brad Stevens, has been a fan of Richardson, who will be looking to get back on track in Boston after a down year in Dallas. Richardson's interesting. He played really solid in Miami, and he didn't really do the same. I think it was in Philadelphia. So he went from Miami to Philly. Numbers went down again, then to Dallas, numbers went down again. And so there is some feeling of he might be able to get back to where he was when he was in his Miami Heat days. And so if Boston can score that out of this, that would be great for them. But ultimately, yeah, I mean, a solid trade for Boston. We're just, again, trying to get as much news out as we can here. again, Tristan Thompson has not been dealt to Atlanta. He's now being moved to Sacramento. DeLon Wright is going to Atlanta. And then the Celtics, in turn, have made their trade of sending Moses Brown and Josh Richardson, Moses Brown to the Mavericks for Josh Richardson. Solid. Again, if they believe that they're going to lose Fournier, I think it's a solid move by the Celtics. But, it does stink for them to kind of trade away some draft picks for Fournier and then ultimately lose him after not even having a full season with him. That is it for this Celtics stream. Again, join the channel, subscribe. We're doing all sorts of coverage throughout the NBA offseason. I believe tonight or tomorrow morning I'll be coming out with a video and doing a stream about who I believe are kind of the key free agents to watch out for. Not necessarily the high profile guys, so I don't think I'll be discussing like DeMar DeRozan or anybody like that, maybe, and Lowry. But I do want to talk about guys that are kind of fitting the Jeremy Grant role from last year, a move that the average NBA fan doesn't really follow, but then could turn into something and blossom into a guy who was an all-star and an impact player for Detroit, while at the same time, one of the main reasons why Denver struggled at the beginning of the year and had to make a move for Aaron Gordon to kind of fit that role. So yes, departures, key free agents that I think are going to have pretty big roles in their move into another team, and also it will, leave a hole in a team. So we'll talk about all that. Again, thanks for joining us. We'll do more live streams depending on what news comes. I assume tomorrow is going to be a very busy day, as we'll probably start hearing a little bit more free agent news come up. We've already heard a little bit about Mike Conley, about his deal and what it's going to look like. I assume that deal is going to take place super quick into free agency. But again, thanks for joining us, and we will see you on the next stream.